Happy Sunday. I am here in my Austin studio doing some catch up and just taking it easy this weekend. I am sitting down with Heather Dwight of Calluna Events, who's based in the Denver and mountain surrounding areas. She is a planner and a designer who creates the most epic details. I love watching her newest, freshest weddings weekend by weekend and seeing what she's up to. She's definitely sets the tone. And we go back to the beginning and talk about how she's grown her business and how important it is to, when you were small, how you use tools to build and build and build and grow and grow. You're gonna love her wisdom. And stay tuned after the interview because I got to go on a day trip to Colorado Springs and we got to tour the Broadmoor, which is phenomenal. So I have a little bit of behind the scenes clips after Heather and I talk.
But I know what you've been through.
So nice.
Yay.
Well, it's great to be in Denver.
Yeah.
And it's so good to sit down with you.
Yeah,
I feel like
great to see you.
we've been in passing and like circles, crossing circles.
Yeah, we have lots of mutual friends and have been engaged at the same time, and now we get to
know each other a little better because
Exactly.
I want to know your story. And you're based here in Denver and you do weddings all over Colorado.
Yeah, so we're actually based in Boulder, which is just a little bit north of here. And then we work all over the Front Range of Colorado and in the mountains and then out of state as well. So we do lots of regional work and some destination weddings as well. So we've been in the last, I'd say 3 to 5 years expanding out of the market. Our planners and vendor team are used to
spreading and complicated,
right,
getting rental furniture here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, so we have a lot of 2-hour, 3-hour drives.
Tell me about your start. How long have you had your business, and kind of how you got into the event world that we crazily continue to say yes to.
Yeah. So I started Calluna in 2004.
Okay.
So this is our 15th season in business. Thank you. I started after working in nonprofit and corporate events. But I think when I saw this niche, there wasn't a lot of planners. It was pre any kind of social media. It was pre, the website that I had was awful. It was archaic, and I had to hire a web designer to build it, in HTML. There was no WordPress or
drag drop.
Yeah. Now everything's so easy, but I think it's also more complicated to really set yourself apart and stand out from the crowd because there are a lot more planners, a lot more, just across the board photographers and everything, with social media, you can really put it out there. So it makes our market, more approachable, more intimate. So in 2000.
And did you launch with I guess, did you feel like you had your look and your niche and your obviously when we're so influenced by the comparison game.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were able to the strength of this is who we are and this is what we're producing?
I mean, I think back then, so our name is Calluna, and that's the botanical word for the heather plant. And so I knew I wanted my company to eventually grow and not just be only me. So I had intention around that. I felt like the branding was really intentional. We had a different logo back then. I knew I still wanted to do other events besides weddings. So, we had a weddings corporate social tagline and had that a part of our website as well. But I think at that time when you're just starting out, you're kind of taking anything and everyone. You're you don't really have this ideal client. You kind of say that you have an ideal client, but when you're just starting out, you just want to do whatever it takes to get the business. And so I think there was a few years like that where you're just taking everything. I mean, backyard weddings, farm weddings, mountain weddings, church weddings. It's we did it all. And I think through that, it's you really do get to a point where you start defining who is my ideal client. And we're fortunate to the point now where we can be a little bit more selective in who we work with, and we have a really good sense of who our brand is and what Calluna weddings look like, and that is very showcased through our Instagram and through our website, and that's because over the years we just have continued to refine that. And I think a lot of it is who we are as a team and our planners and me and just that intentionality, but I think a lot of it is our creative partners that we work with and what they bring to the table and how we design weddings here with them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So after all these years, I feel like now it is a whole different world in terms of the industry and the creativity and the competition and like all of that. Have you figured out how to refine your niche more, or do you feel like you've become, like what are some tips you would have to someone who's kind of starting their business in this kind of flooded marketplace?
Yeah.
Like how do you find and believe in your, your mission and who you want to work with?
Yeah. I mean, I think you do have to have that sense of like paying your dues. I think there are a lot of people.
Give yourself grace too.
Yeah. Just kind of sit in and figure out, who is it that you want to be? What market do you want? Like, what clientele do you want to attract? And I think that you might have a certain idea of, the clientele that you want, or the venue or the type of weddings you want to do. But for us, I think we now do know, and we can say with certainty, like where, who we want to be working with. And for us, it's not necessarily a type of bride, although we have in sort of our marketing plan that we write, and we do this every year. Like, we have an ideal bride that, like, she has a name and she has an age and she has an occupation and she's well traveled, and like, so we know, if we were going to meet her on the street, we know like who she is. And we are working with a lot of, not just brides anymore. We're doing same-sex, weddings, and there's a lot of kind of expansiveness in our market and who we're marketing, to. But I think the main thing for us is that when their guests walk into their wedding, that they say, like, this is so them. And so finding a couple that really, we understand their values, their needs, like, they're authentic people, they just want to plan a wedding that's really about their guest and the guest experience. That for us is what's so important. But I think we're constantly refining that in terms of, like, is it a Colorado bride? I don't think Calluna right now is, wants to be everything to everybody, and there's great destination planners. But I think if the opportunity comes up in terms of, like, oh, our past bride is referring her sister and she's getting married in New York, like,
you're like, yes,
of course we're going to do that. And I think because of Instagram and places like Engage, it's like
makes the world so small.
Yeah, and so we have those contacts where we can pick up the phone and say, hey, we're coming to New York, like, let's do a wedding together. And so that is where we're kind of seeing, Calluna going in the future.
Well, I think, the industry's gotten so, I guess, small in a lot of ways, in the sense of, I think, really, and then we can talk about this creative partner wise, I think a lot of the partnerships I have were good matches no matter what the location.
Right.
We're collaborating well, and we have a vision and we work well together.
It's so true.
Which is wonderful, because I think we're producing higher quality, more refined events, because we're able to, like, dip in different pools.
Right.
And
the world of weddings is a lot smaller because you can call on your different vendor partners in different markets. And
when I started my business in 2008, so 10 years ago, that was also pre-Pinterest. The wedding world was very different.
Yeah.
And I was actually in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a little tiny bubble, and there just wasn't a lot of creative space. And yet at that time, like, to tell a couple that you were going to bring in an outside anything would have been like, why? We're not going to pay the added expenses, whatever. And now I feel like, a lot of the couples I work with connect with me or connect with the other professionals initially because they connect aesthetically and it matches their design and, their vision. And so that's been so enjoyable for me to, like, actually work now, I feel like, on projects that are so much more experiential and they're the better fit, it's a little bit larger pool.
And I think they're also trusting you too, which if you're bringing someone into the mix because you're identifying with the client and saying, this is your style, this is your budget, this is your need, which is what we do. Like, we try to really hone in on, like, our couple, what they want for their wedding, and we will say, like, this is the vendor we feel like is the
right fit.
This creative partner, and if they're out of the market, but we really feel like
they're the
match, then they're going to trust us. And I think that because of social media and networking, we've broken down those barriers to be able to, like, work with each other really collaboratively.
Exactly. So with you doing such specialized, like, this is that couple's wedding aesthetically and experience. How have you found some of your favorite creative partners? What does that look like? I know I feel like when I'm at these workshops and talking to people, it's like, well, how do I find the right matches from even my aesthetic? Like a photographer's looking for, you know, it's in all directions looking for the right connection. So do you have any tips about how you've found and partnered with the right professionals?
I mean, I think a little bit of it is just throughout the years, like working with people over and over again, and we constantly are meeting with new people, so we don't have the same set, you know, 3 partners that we work with all the time, although there are some that we collaborate with, you know, time and time again, so you'll see that mentioned, you know, in our weddings or in our portfolio. But we do spend a lot of time in the off season meeting with vendors, you know, going to lunch with them, researching. You know, if someone reaches out and they're new to the area, or, you know, they're moving here, like we definitely want to meet with them. And, you know, so we're broadening our, you know, vendor and creative partner network, and we feel like we would be doing our couples a disservice if we weren't doing that, because you never know who the next best baker is going to be, or the next best florist. And we're constantly trying to innovate and, you know, think outside of the box, and so we don't necessarily want to get stagnant, but we do tend to work with similar, you know, creative partners over and over again if we know, like, our teams are just, we gel well together. We know what we're going to get when we show up on the day of the event. We know they have our back. They have our, you know, clients' back, and so there's a peace of mind in that, especially when you're working in a higher end market, to know that it's a well-oiled machine on the day of the event. And I think that there's a concern that you'll get stagnant and the same weddings will happen over and over and over again. And that's not what I've found, because I think if you work with a creative team, you're constantly, pushing each other to think outside of the box, and to design things that have never been seen before for that couple, So I think while we're comfortable, working with, our favorites, dream team, or, we're always open to working with, new creative partners all the time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pricing a little bit. So is there anything you would have told yourself back in 2004 that you've learned over the years in terms of pricing for your services?
I feel like I'm still trying to figure out pricing. Like, I feel it is
wild.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of there's trends in pricing also.
There are.
And pricing so hush-hush that then you think that you're being current and competitive, but then now this person's charging in this different format, and it's just insane.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about going to, conferences, and also engages in talking with, the planners in my market, is I feel like I have great colleagues that we share, and colleagues that are like, oh, I'm doing it this way, we should all collaborate and kind of talk about, so we're not on a level playing field, but we're all delivering the same pricing model to the clients. If they're shopping around, then it might come down to personality rather than like, oh, this person is like $5,000 less than this person. And so I think the pricing thing is a constant struggle for a planner, because we know where we should be, but I also think selling a couple on the value of what they're getting from us.
So much they don't see.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there is a peace of mind, there is a calmness, there is a experience level that we're selling, but there's also the planning portion, which is, the nuts and bolts of it. But there's also that peace of mind when they get to the wedding, and that feeling, and a lot of our couples will say, gosh, if I had known what you would provide for us, going into this, I would have paid you so much more.
You're like, great.
Great, that's helpful now. But, I take that into those conversations to know, like, we need to really explain, like, what we're going to do. Not only are we going to provide, vendor recommendations, or help you with your venue, or help you with your tent, or help you, plan your stationery, or the timeline of where you need to be when, but we're going to provide that stress-free experience and that peace of mind.
And I think it's so helpful in all industry types within the wedding industry and the event industry to have that over communication with clients in a lot of ways, and not only does it help you when someone says, oh, I thought you were providing that, but I do think, you know, especially as people are going from jumping price structure, I think it's really helpful to also, even as a business, to just write it down, like, this is what I'm providing, and I know kind of how much time, and here's the new price, and then also feeling much more confident selling that to a client, saying, like, line by line, this is where the value is, like in a written, very spelled out kind of way.
And I think that helps going back with the, you know, client if they maybe weren't listening in the meeting, or they had several meetings and they forgot, then they can kind of go back to that document. But I think, you know, pricing, we are constantly, you know, increasing pricing as we go, but I also think Colorado, and you have to kind of know what your market can bear too, because there's different markets all over the country, and what, you know, a planner might be charging, you know, in New York or in LA might be completely different than what they're charging in like North Carolina or in Oregon. And so we try to find out what is our couple expecting here. We do a lot of destination weddings, so a lot of couples that are coming in from different markets, what are they seeing in other markets, and what is the expectation? But if they live here and they're, you know, they're also maybe interviewing across, you know, maybe planners who have been in business for like 5 years versus a planner that's been in business like us for 15 years, and there is going to be a price difference. You have to really educate the couple on why they're getting, you know, a different, like a higher level price for, you know, that experience. And it's maybe not necessarily just the experience that they're paying for, but there's other added, you know, value in, you know, things that we're offering that other, you know, planning companies maybe aren't. So.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you were here at the Not Pro Workshop Denver, which has been a wonderful day. So many great people, and I have went through the Denver airport many times whenever I have been in Denver. So it's
I hope you get to enjoy the weather that we're having today.
Yeah,
it's beautiful outside, and maybe get out for a hike or something. So we'll do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here with Heather from Calluna Events, and we are at the Not Pro Workshop in Denver, and we had an awesome interview which you just enjoyed. So where can people find you online to follow you?
We're at CallunaEvents.com, and it's CALLUNA.
And I'll put it right here too.
So
thank you for being with me today. Bye.
Bye.
I just loved all the wisdom that she had to share. It's so great sitting with other professionals who have been in the trenches, who have had those experiences, to really give insight to fresh people in the events industry. I hope you loved it. Now, stay tuned for my trip with the Broadmoor. We had such a fun exploring day, and I'm just gonna give you a little behind the scenes. Enjoy!
On a fun excursion today. I am at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, and I will show you some details.
Guess you're back. Are you gonna tell me where you went? All the messages I sent with no reply. It's like that. You're just gonna walk into my room. I hate how you assume there will always be a place for you by my side, day or night. You know that it's killing me. It's not right. We don't fight.
So the ballroom space is phenomenal. You're just saying it's totally Beauty and the Beast.